I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah, no, not only am I recording this. What?
I don't want it's not.
Yeah. I'm recording this, but also like usually I haven't posted our English classes on the YouTube channel, but I think I'm going to post this publicly in case anyone else wants to see it. So if you have any friends who think could benefit from what we discussed today, then like go ahead and share it. There you go. Yeah. Okay, so because this is going to be for everyone, quick review. What is rhetoric?
Oh my God.
Oh, sorry, subtitle here, subtitle. This is an exercise in real world rhetoric, right? This is what we've been training for this whole year. Okay, so what is rhetoric in your own words or in art of persuasion? Very good, okay, right? So we had 4 definitions here. So Aristotle's, which I didn't like before, actually might be very relevant here. The faculty of observing in any given case the available means of persuasion. So it's like an ability to perceive the world in a certain way and to see what tools and like elements of persuasion can I use? Okay, then there was Jolliffe, the way people produce text to create and communicate meaning, the art of finding ways of persuading the audience, and then the art of persuasion. I'm fine with that. Okay, reason why I wanted to go over this definition again is I don't know if you've noticed this. The way that lay people use the word rhetoric is negative, like, oh, it's just a bunch of rhetoric. Have you heard people use it in that way?
Yeah.
So I wanted to clarify, in the world of English and in the ancient world, it was not used negatively. It was used for all persuasion. So when I say that this is a exercise in rhetoric, I don't mean you're going to manipulate all the interviewers. I mean, this is like in how to be persuasive. Okay, so if you want to take this out, you can. You don't have to. Jolliffe's rhetorical framework diagram, because we are going to make reference to this. Good luck, Emily.
You got it.
What do you call it? Of this diagram, the parts that are relevant for seminary. Oh, and by the way, also I should mention, can you hear from there? Okay, fine, whatever you want to do. Yeah. Okay. Even if you are not interviewing for seminary, you will probably interview for college at some point, and you will interview for jobs. Unless you don't work. Okay. I mean, which is possible, but then maybe you'll have to help your, you're gonna have to interview. So, and you know what, to be truthfully, like, this is an awkward thing to say, but like when you're dating also, it's almost an interview in a certain way, especially like for hopefully not when you're like on your 10th date or whatever, but like first date is very interviewy because you're trying to get to know the other person and get them to know you. So these things can apply across the board. Okay.
Yeah, like my sister went dating him, maybe she was like a date trainer. Like,
interesting. Yeah, I mean, and look, and there is an art to, yeah. Wrote down all the notes on her like sleeve. Yeah. My birthday was on. Yeah. Okay, so of Jolliffe's rhetorical framework diagram, I think these are the ones that will be relevant. So I just put this here in case we need to make reference to this. Okay. But what we're going to do is we're going to start off with a soapstone. Okay, so let's do soapstone and I'll type it in as we go. So soapstone for you in a seminary, and we're just going to use seminary interview as the baseline. You'll apply this to other places if you need to, but we'll just use seminary because I think that's the main thing here. Okay, let's actually start off with the purpose. Okay, what is the purpose of your speaking in a seminary interview?
To convince them that you're a good fit.
Interesting. Okay, so one, I'm gonna say these. I'm gonna number these. Oops, I'm gonna number them. Not all of them necessarily apply. So these are just like possibilities. Okay.
Is this our point of view or
from your point of view? Yeah, as a speaker. Good question though. Okay, so number one is what did you say, Sheva? To convince them you're a good fit for their school. Okay. Yeah.
But if you're unsure about like if you want to go to the seminary, kind of to see how they to you and how
okay, good. So for what reason though? I mean, you're right, but
I mean, if you want to see like how they analyze things, how they see how you analyze things.
To see what the seminary value.
Okay, good. All right. So I'm just to put this in parallel phrasing here, to see whether they are a good fit for you, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And this is an underrated part of interviewing, because I think there will be places that you interview where you really just want to get in there. And then there'll be other places where you interview where you're kind of scoping it out. And don't underestimate, and even if it's a place you really want to get into, you still want to use every opportunity you can to get more information about that place, because as we talked about earlier, seminaries can change from year to year. They could change depending on who's there. The way that it's presented could change. So you're getting information there as well. Yeah, it goes both ways. Yeah, and I think that because like there is like an inherent, I don't want to call it a power structure, but in a way there's an inherent power structure in the interview setup, which is that like they are judging you and accepting you or rejecting. I mean, this person's not rejecting you, but they're in the position of judgment. But you have to remember that you are also in a position to judge them, and not to judge them, to like judge, to assess them. And remember, the goal of this whole thing is you want to make sure that you are a good fit for them and they're a good fit for you. And they have that same thing. In other words, they don't want to accept students who are not right for their seminary and who their seminary is not right for. And you could be an excellent student, but if they know that you're not going to fit in to, like, let's say, for example, just thinking about Shalhevet, like we've had students who are very like independent thinkers and analytical, and if the seminary that they're applying to knows that the average student is not going to be like that, then they would realize, oh, this student's not going to be happy there. So like, it's not because they're rejecting you as a person or like you're not good. It might just be that you're not a good fit for what they're trying to cultivate. Why did I type 3? Yeah.
Like learning how to speak to people that are in a position of power.
Okay, I think that is a good purpose in anything like that. I don't think that's a primary purpose of the seminary interview, but it is a good way to practice it. I had another one in mind, but hold on. You said before Elisheva, what was the thing? I know I asked you, this is the third time I'm asking you this. What did you say again, Leah?
Oh, to see if what the seminary is asking you, if based on what they're asking you, whether you
okay.
want to.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that actually does fit into what Elisheva was saying, meaning like, let's say, for example, they are, this I don't think would happen, but like, let's say the only questions they ask you are just like peppering you with questions about your halakhic practice, right? So then that conveys something to you about like what their main criteria are, So
Also, it's probably like a leader of the school, and they kind of like represent.
So let's go on then now to audience, right? Okay, meaning the interviewer, right? Yeah, you're right. We can hear. Right. So the audience is the in this case the oops. I'm missing all my keys today. And this is not supposed to be blue. So this is the interviewer. Okay. So and this will be the immediate audience. Okay. So how should you think about the person who's interviewing you? Like, who are they? Okay, so number 1 is they are a representative of the school, and that's their job, right? Their job is to represent. So it's not just like,
so nervous.
Don't get nervous. In other words, everyone who comes to the school or comes from the school is representative of the school, but this person is the one who's literally going out there and like being the public face of the school, okay? Which means that they're not speaking necessarily as themselves. They're speaking as a voice of the administration or of the school or the collective, like, faculty or educational statement. Okay, good. Typically, who conducts the interviews, like in particular, like what kind of person? Yeah, okay, good. So some sort of, I'm going to use just a broader term, administrator, right? Because sometimes it is like not principal, what's the equivalent? Rosh something, Rosh Yeshiva, Rosh Seminary, Midrasha. Yeah, right. I knew there was a term for that, right? Yeah. Okay, good.
Also, as an individual person.
Yes. Okay, that's a very important thing, right? So a real living person / Jew, right? Which means that like, I feel like there's another mode that certain people get into when they're on interviews, which is they forget that they're talking to a human. And it's almost like they respond as if they're talking to a Google form or like a application. Like, no, this is a person, and it's totally like okay and appropriate to interact with them as a person, right? It's not just that they are an automated voice that's spewing out questions, So remembering that they're a person and like talking with them and even asking them questions as well, like engaging in conversation. These are all very important things that that I think is easy to forget about when you haven't done interviews like this or if you're nervous. Yeah. How do you think this person's past experience might affect the way that they are relating to this interview? I know that's a very vague question, but remember, like, in other words, this is not a person who's just doing this once.
They've done a million interviews.
Yeah.
You have to make yourself stand out.
Okay, good. Right. So we'll say that when it comes to the speaker, they have to make yourself stand out. But in terms of them, is someone who has done dozens, hundreds of such interviews. Okay, which is something you just have to bear in mind that that I'm sure you've been given similar advice when writing like college essays. In fact, maybe we even talked about this, of that, like, the people who are reading your essays have read zillions of essays, and you need to keep that in mind because, well, really is not soundproof. Yeah, but you need to keep that in mind to tailor your answer accordingly. Okay, and we'll talk more about that when we do answers. Okay, good. Anything else we need to know about this? Oh, and here's another thing. Okay. Oh, I was actually gonna say, okay, I was gonna say the opposite, but I think we're both right. Okay, which is that this person is involved in making the decision in some way. Okay, and what I mean by that is, in some cases, like, the person who's interviewing is actually making the final decision. Let's say, like in Shall Have It, Mrs. Eisenman interviews students and she's making the final decision. In other cases, though, it's not just that one person, you know, like they're a go-between. So I don't know if you're always going to know that, but like that is a thing to keep in mind. And how you said determining your future?
Yeah, like in either, like they're determining if you're going to go there or not.
Okay, yeah, right. So that's a much more specific thing, because remember also, I feel like one of the things that makes people nervous is people like feel like everything is riding on the interview, you know, and that's not true. Okay, I mean, unless you like do something horrible on the interview, you know, the interview.
You can tell you're like, great.
Yeah, don't pull out a cheeseburger and start eating it. You know, that will probably ruin your chances. But like, you know, we've had cases before where the interview does not go well, and that's not your final thing. You have had your application, you have letters of recommendation. Sometimes the interview goes well, it doesn't go well, and they give you a second chance. You know, it's not like everything is riding on this. So just like, don't get too panicked about that. Okay, the mediated audience. Yeah, the other.
They're gonna hear about.
Right, is other. Hold on a second here. Other. What's going on? Other people. I'll change the color in a second. In the administration. Okay, and this is one that is like. That is, I don't think I'm gonna need to mention this to you, but I'll mention it anyway. Well, I'll mention the fact and you tell me why you think it's relevant, okay? Possibly other seminaries.
I was thinking that
Yeah?
too. Because my brother was interviewing for school.
Yeah,
Like he had heard, basically like the school had literally told my parents that like they talked to like another school
yeah,
or whatever, and they like realized like, oh, like this guy's a better fit for our school or whatever, or like he wants to go to your school more, so just like take him.
yeah.
Like, they actually do actively. talk to each other.
And the reason why is because in Israel there is a general understanding that we want all students to find a place to go, and they'll work with each other. And like, look, you know, there's some places that there are a lot of applicants, and like you could be a really, really good candidate, but like you missed the you know, you were too late, or like there are other people, you know, whatever the situation is, and they will try to help. The administrators will talk to each other to try to find a place, just like in high schools here, you know. So in terms of, so how might that affect? Remember, we're talking about rhetorical analysis here. So how might that change your conduct during the interview? In other words, like how, if you, let's say the only person who's ever going to hear you is this seminary versus other seminaries, how might that change things?
Don't say like, oh, I hate every other seminary. You are great.
Okay, good. So so it dictates some no-nos, right? Which is that do not badmouth other seminaries. And also, you know what, like, don't goodmouth them either, in the sense like I don't think students would actually do this, but like
Talk about it.
like you guys are my second choice, you know, you know.
Kind of ask.
Now, if they do ask you,
Yeah,
right,
they're like, oh, I saw your.
She was asking
right.
me,
So
like,
if they
a
do
lot.
ask you, then that's a different story, right? Then that's a different story. But just, you know, just be wary that like they might be sharing the information. Okay, how else might this affect things
That they're talking
that they're talking to other people? Yeah.
Maybe like say stuff that's kind of like generally applicable. Like don't just highlight characteristics about yourself that's good about their school. More
Yeah.
like general stuff that could be for any.
Yeah, okay, good. So, and this is a sort of a delicate balance that you need to walk, which is that on the one hand, as in all of our writing that we've done this year, specificity is good, and especially addressing your audience and knowing what they are interested in. But at the same time, don't do so in a way that would like cut yourself off from other things that you are possibly interested in doing. Let's say, for example, like, and I'm going to use exaggerated examples because sometimes it's easier to see. Like, let's say, I know that there are certain seminaries that do a lot of emphasis on, let's say, like chesed, and like, or let's say a lot of seminaries that do a lot of like, you know, touring Israel, and that's a big part of their draw, right? So like, let's say you're applying to one of those seminaries and you say like, I want to spend all of my day like doing chesed and like touring, and like that's the only thing I want to do. Well, is that if you're applying to other places that don't have that, then like it's not going to square with that. You know what I'm saying? So like you can definitely talk about what you want to do and you want to do chesed and touring, but like don't write yourself into a corner. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Another thing which I don't think I have to warn you about is there have been cases in Shalhevet, I know, where like certain students basically like wanted to go to one seminary, but then their parents were making them interview for another seminary. So they kind of like deliberately bombed that interview, you know? Not a good move, because like if you, let's say, like act like a jerk or whatever in one thing, then word could get around, you know? So again, I don't think this is going to really affect mostly what you say, but just to keep in mind. Okay. The occasion.
Zoom.
You're in Israel. Occasion.
Yeah, the occasion, context, or exigence. We can address all these.
A year to.
This is the occasion of the interview.
I guess they're trying to figure out if you're going to go there.
Yeah, right. Is that this is when did we say the when do you get responses?
February, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So I mean, whatever. We're you know.
I think everything's postponed because.
Oh yeah. This is a weird year, right? So the need. Actually, you know what? I'm going to actually say this as the exigence, okay? Which is, oh, that messed everything up. Okay, there we go. All the neuroses coming out here. Okay, the need to choose, right? That's the ultimate thing driving, is if seminaries could accept all people, then there would be no urgency whatsoever dictating this happening right now, right? This is the need to choose, the need to choose people for the seminary, right? That's the thing. Now the context, as you mentioned, is weird, right? Context is COVID-19 weirdness, okay? And which means that a lot of these seminaries themselves are going through weird things in terms of unpredictability in how they're operating, in how they're conducting these interviews. I don't know exactly how that's going to affect the way that you answer. I mean, look, an interview over Zoom is definitely different than an interview in person, and factoring that in is important. How you factor that in, I really don't know. Maybe we could talk about that as we go. Yeah, that could affect things as well, right? Yeah, in fact, I don't even think we really need to do occasion, because that really is covered by context. And
So bad, like, let's say your internet is bad that day, then your internet doesn't go so well.
Use your day off. Get unlimited for the month.
No, I heard that that other schools are actually still having it in person. But I'm not sure if it's.
They said they're all coming in January, but January's in 3 days.
well, also, I mean, the fact that that Israel went to another lockdown, also, I don't know if that's going to change anything, right? Because that's another.
Yeah, you can't. Like, they're not going to
Yeah.
let you back. Like,
Yeah.
But you're not allowed back in the country.
Yeah.
They're really
This we kind of answered.
Well,
This
yeah, no, there's no visas or anything.
The subject of the interview, if you could boil it down to one thing, which is very related to the purpose here, is how do you say the subject?
I can't think of it different from the purpose.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm trying to figure out also.
What is it called?
Determining whether you,
The subject is the topic of the text, what the text is about, the central question that the text aims to answer. Let's try that. I think that's easier. What is the question that the interview is seeking to answer?
a good fit for the school.
Yeah.
Well,
Is
same as the purpose.
yeah, that's right. Yeah. Is this student a good fit for this school? Yeah, I think that's good. Okay, now speaking of the student, so you are obviously yourself, right? But the persona, what persona are you taking on here?
Someone who really wants to go to the school.
If that's the case, right? I mean, that might not be the case. I mean, it might not really, so someone who is interested in this particular school, right? Some level of interest. Okay.
I'm ready to go to Israel for a year.
Okay, good. Someone who is interested in her religious, or in going to Israel, Israel for a year with all of its goals. Okay, meaning that could be religious growth. It could be for learning, right? Let's say religious growth, learning. For some people, it's get away from their parents. Okay, right? I mean, this is something you're gonna have to like, think about. I mean, this is part of what you're gonna have to think about in the before you go into the interview. Are you okay? To what extent? This is a difficult question here. To what extent are you? I'll put it bluntly. Are you being honest?
To some extent, but not completely.
Well, you are being
I would
honest.
say a lot, but
Yeah.
just college.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. I did right.
Finesse.
Honest.
Yeah.
Honest, but your best version of yourself.
Yeah,
Right.
Show that you have.
Yeah, and this is another mistake that I'm not worried about the people in this room for, but I've had other students who like feel the need to put on like a fake persona to match the type of person that they're interested in. I'm sure you've seen like, I'm sure you've seen in the past, like, in Shall Have It, like on interview day, someone who normally dresses in one kind of clothes suddenly dresses like a Beis Yaakov girl, like, and that actually is, not only is that not necessary, but it's actually bad. It's deceptive, yeah, right. And like if they look, let's say they look on your social media or whatever, and they see that you wear normal clothing, now you look like a liar. Like now you look like a hypocrite, like so it's you should be honest, but again, your goal is to put forward your best self. You're not gonna like come in with like mustard stains on your shirt.
Like putting forward their best self. If internally they feel like that's how they want to dress, they don't want the seminary to like look at them just by what they are externally, then they're kind of like trying to put their best self.
See, but again, the question is it past the point of being genuine? In other words, if they ask the people who wrote letters of recommendation about this person, or they talk to others, are they going to find out that there is deception going on? Like you don't want to push it to that far. Yeah, what are you gonna say?
Like, I go to interview, like, I'm not gonna wear like a hoodie.
Yeah,
It's
exactly. Right,
ridiculous.
right,
Like, I don't wanna
right.
look like-
Yeah, right. Okay. And similarly also is it's another important thing in terms of how you present yourself is be as natural as possible, in the sense of, and this is the risk, by the way, of when we do the practice questions, is you don't want to come with memorized answers to questions, because then that also looks like you're trying to like manipulate them, or it looks not genuine. You want to be natural and you want to be yourself and feel comfortable in yourself. And because these people have interviewed a lot have done a lot of interviews, it's very rare that they will make you feel uncomfortable with how they do the interview. Like these people are being sent out to do interviews because they're good at it, typically. Like there are weird cases, but you don't have to worry about those. Yeah. Tone. What tone should you use? Okay, good. Genuine.
Positive.
Yeah, positive is good. And that's another thing also, okay, is that everyone has self-doubts and like areas of insecurities and stuff like that. And while you do want to be honest, you don't want to just lay all of that on the table, you know, like you are putting forth your best self and a positive tone and like, you know, recognizing your strengths and weaknesses, like owning it is definitely a good tone to have. Okay. Not poning it. That's the opposite. Okay. Owning it. Yeah. Healthy, confidence, right? Not like I am the best student you will ever see.
You want to choose me?
Yeah.
Like thoughtful.
Yeah, thoughtful. Okay, good. What
Friendly? Is that
yeah, friendly. Yeah, friendly.
I mean, I don't know. Do you want to be friendly with someone?
So, okay, good question, right? So what level of formality are we talking about here? Yeah,
Feel out what
friendly.
they're doing also. Like,
Yeah,
just see like what
match the tone of the interview, right? And remember when we talked about voice registers, the 5 voice registers of like, you know, I forgot the exact titles, but like, you know, the formal, informal, professional, you know, do you remember what the rule was about like about moving registers?
yeah, like you could jump one up and one.
Yeah, you could jump one up and one down, but if you jump 2, then that's bad, right?
Like, good afternoon, and then you're like, oh, how was your summer?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you're probably going to want to be err on the side of professional, but be flexible based on how they conduct the interview. Yeah. Okay, good. Do we do all of these things? Yeah. Okay, good. Now, again, this is the purpose of this is not to map out all the details. The purpose of this is just to help us recognize what the rhetorical situation is. Okay. And having that in mind, let's now go to practice questions. Okay. And here's how I like to do this. Okay. And again, Mrs. Board might do this in a different way. So we're going to go around in a circle. Okay. I'm going to ask a question and you have three options. Okay. You can either answer the question as you would in an interview. You can ask for a different question, or you can pass. Now, here's the thing: is some people will be inclined to pass all the time, but you got to remember you can't pass on the interview. You know, so this is a safe environment where we're all supportive and helpful, and like, and you have nothing to lose. You know, you're not going to get rejected from Lomdeha mid-year. Oh, she didn't answer the mock interview question in Lomdeha, right? You know, see, but I'm not going to force anyone to answer any questions. You can pass. And then we're going to stop and talk about like what was good about your answer, what we could improve or whatever. Okay. And these are all, I'm actually going to, let's do this here.
Really nervous.
It's
about my interview.
I don't know. I really
Why?
don't have any interviews planned, but I didn't.
Well, yeah, I was going to ask this at the beginning. How many of you in the last, let's say 3 years have done an interview for a job or a school? 2? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. What did you? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Did you learn any valuable experiences or lessons from that interview experience that you were going to take with you to future interviews?
Yeah, for me, it was way more chill than I thought.
Yeah. Okay.
All the
Good.
ones I've been to.
Yeah.
I guess they've all been like Jewish women. I was comfortable with, so I
Yeah.
had like expectations.
Yeah.
And then it was very like informal.
Okay,
Like,
good.
asking me like casual questions.
Yeah.
It was more like a back and forth, not just them like hammering me.
Nice. Rachel, were you Susan? No. Dina? No. Leah? No. Okay. Okay.
Those are the good interviews that you get off the phone. You're like,
Okay.
okay. It's pretty common.
Okay, good. Yeah. Yeah. It's a very common experience. What Ellie Chavez says is it's not, the fear is always worse than the actual interview. Like once you start. Yeah. And remind yourself of that if you're nervous. Like, you know.
Also the build up. You're waiting like.
Oh yeah. Well, it was horrible. I mean, in Shellhabit when like you'd have an interviewer come in for like 5 hours and then like you'd have to be in all of your classes. No, not per interview, but they'd be in the building for 5 hours and then like you'd have to be sitting in your class like waiting for them to call you. Yeah. Okay. Let's start with Al. Okay. Well, this is going to be an interesting one.
Oh, great.
You'll see why. What did you do last summer?
Last summer. What do you?
This past summer, 2020.
Am I talking to you or am I talking to?
Pretending you're on the interview. I'm the interviewer.
So my school actually closed down early, so I had to. It's so hard to make eye contact. My school closed down early, so my teacher started like a program so we could graduate early, and I graduated. I got my diploma in the summer so that I could start college a year early.
Okay, good. Now this brings us, that was a good answer. Round of applause. Okay, yeah. Now, let's put ourselves in the shoes of the interviewer right now, okay? What do we see, or what could we see from that? And then, like, about her, and then let's think this is a general tip for interviews, is you want to take your strengths and you want to leverage them to make them realize what is really good about you, right? So what can we take from, what will we as the interviewer see from her response? And then what maybe can she do to highlight the good things about that quality, those qualities?
She's very good at reacting to situations, and she's like resilient.
Okay, good. Resilience. Now, how could she bring those qualities out, if she wanted to highlight those? I'm not saying you have to, but.
I could have either continued high school or I graduated.
Okay, good. So I think that would be a good, if they do ask you about the summer, that would be a good thing to do, is our school closed, and we were given the choice of whether to apply to a new school or to work through the summer and complete our graduation requirements and graduate early. And I chose to do that.
In that moment, when you're asking me the question, I'm not thinking, I'm just saying.
Yeah, right. And that's why the purpose of us doing these mock interviews is not so that you memorize the answers. It's so that you develop a derech of how to think about answering the question, so that, like, maybe on the spot you'll be able to incorporate these things into it. And again, and that's the thing also, is that a lot of the questions are going to sound informational, like they're just seeking information. Like this was just, what did you do in the summer? It almost sounds like a resume type question. Yeah. And that's why it's important to remember the subject of the entire interview is this student a good fit for this school? So the more you answer the question in line with that subject, the better. And if they see that, oh, you worked really hard throughout the summer to graduate, then that shows hard work, resilience, academic dedication, maturity, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So you could talk about, like, if you want to frame that as like, oh, positive experience, you talk about how graduating early led you to join Lomdeha, because that shows, like, oh, you care about learning.
Continue to.
Okay, that's excellent. Hold on, I gotta remember this quote. This is a quote from one of my favorite shows. Mad Men. Yeah.
I don't know if it's anymore, so I can't watch it.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a quote from. I have to get this right. So it's about people who are in advertising. Okay, so rhetoric is everything. So the main character, Don Draper, has this quote: "If you don't like what's being said, change the conversation." Okay, which means, which means now this doesn't apply here because it's not like you didn't like the question, but remember, you can choose to take the answer in different directions than what they intended. And like what Leah just said, of segueing from the summer into talking about Lomdeha, is just giving another opportunity to showcase like good qualities that you have, and just, I'll say this now, even though it might come up later. Let's say they ask you a question that you don't like, or you have a hard time answering. You can feel free. No, just punch him and run. You can feel free to and then come up with a story. The ceiling fell down. You don't remember. To reframe the question in a way, you can even say like, can I reframe the question? And they're not going to say no, and like it does, yeah.
Like a leading question, like not leading, but like, am I asking something about something specific on my report card?
Yes, right.
Like, oh, why did you get this grade in this class?
Oops, sorry, I got to turn this off.
Your other grades, whatever. But you can't change the question, because then it makes you look shady.
Makes you look a little bit disrespectful.
But if they ask you about your summer,
yeah, right.
You would kind of like segue off. Like,
right. Okay, Rachel, tell me about your family. Pass? Okay. Leah, tell me about your family.
My family's great. My dad is a magician, and my mom works in marketing analytics, so we get a little bit of entertainment every once in a while. My brother right now is in Israel. It's the brother school to Untitled, I don't know if you've heard of it. And my two little sisters go to tag, and they're really cute. They hang out and play games and stuff, and they're really loving. And I like them a lot.
Okay, good.
I love them, actually.
Can I resubmit my answer? Yeah. Yeah. So that was a very good answer. So what do we as the interviewer see about Leia from her response there?
Like your family.
Yeah. Yeah, you clearly, it was a very natural, not forced response. And why is that important, or why do we care about that as an
You don't
interviewer?
want to sound like you're forced to like say good things about yourself. You want to be like things that you actually genuinely believe.
Oh, I'm saying, sorry, let me reframe the question. Why does the interviewer care about the fact that you love your family? Yeah.
Because if you have a good relationship with your family, it kind of says something about you.
Yeah, good. And the opposite is not necessarily true, right? There are clearly students who come from families who they don't get along with, and that doesn't mean that they're a bad kid or a bad student, but it definitely does say something about you. And this is kind of like if you remember in the Falk NFL editorial when he was praising the founding fathers, seeing what the things he was praising the founding fathers for really says a lot about his own values, and like when you're praising your family or talking about what you like about your family, you're really talking about yourself, and that's really what they're interested in. They're not really interested in your family, or they might be interested in your family, like what other interests might they have in your family other than your feelings towards them? Yeah, they might be looking for information about like what type of let me ask, actually, let me go into Elisheva, is how would you describe, and I don't know if they asked this question in this way, but like how would you label your family's, yours or your family's like religious identity or religious philosophy growing up? Like,
I don't know. I don't know what you mean by that.
Okay, okay, good. And that's sorry, it was a very unclear question, but by the way, that is a good technique. You say, can you elaborate on what you mean? So like, let me think of a way that they would say. I was looking through this list. By the way, I have this list of questions from actual seminaries, but it's been accumulated over the years. So like, I don't know if these are.
How did you like?
I have my ways. I went online and just got a bunch of from a bunch of discussion boards. And I think what we did also is, I think as students came back from their interviews, we asked them, did they have any questions that were not on our list? Yeah. Oh, how about this? What's your family's religious background?
You mean by that?
Meaning Balei Tshuva, Haredi, modern Orthodox.
My mom's side, both sides actually are mostly Balei Tshuva, like both my parents' parents.
Yeah.
But they all grew up like in religious households. My mom's household was more modern. As she grew up, she became more religious, like on her own. Like she wore short sleeves and everything. But then as she got older, like she started like keeping more. And my dad, his family was always pretty religious because they were Balei Tshuva, like they kind of like strung more towards the strict side.
Yeah.
And then my family is kind of like a hybrid. We don't necessarily have an identity. Like my brother goes to more yeshiva school, but I go more modern Orthodox school. My parents are kind of in the middle.
Nice. And how do you think that shaped your outlook and your own hashkafa growing up? The fact that you came from like this hybrid.
I think it allowed me to see like the good side of like all these different areas of Judaism, and instead of just being stuck in one path, like I'm modern Orthodox through and through, like I was able to find the good in all of it and kind of integrate it.
Okay, good. That was a great answer. Oh, round of applause for Emily for getting through the first interview of the season. How did it go? Oh, nice.
Yay!
Nice. So
It was good. Yes, we just talked.
good. How did what was different about your expectations going in, and like how what did you learn from the experience that you could bring back to us?
I mean, I thought I was gonna be more nervous. I thought I was gonna be more awkward.
Yeah.
But I realized that a lot of the expectations going in was not right because she was gonna start off with like maybe me just talking, but then she like asked questions, but they were all like based on what we said, I guess. So I thought it was gonna be more structured that she had specific questions, like high school, like you want to be a bus or a whale, I don't know, like no.
Yeah.
It's more like about me and like what I'm doing and stuff.
Good.
And then she also like asked about like why specifically Harova, and then I wasn't like sure what to say because like I didn't want to make it sound like I just wanted to go because it's an old city, but like I know stuff about it, but like definitely do research. But yeah, and then
Okay, so let me just commenting on what you said. So one thing we did say is that often the expectations are more intimidating than the actual interview. Just to add to what we said is not only do you have a lot more say in how you answer the questions, but often the answers you give will determine the course of further questions. And that's another reason why like you should feel free to be flexible with how you answer the questions. So that's good. Going back to what Elisheva said, so that was a great answer. And yeah, good job. And because it shows also that you, what does it show us about Elisheva that she answered that? She's inclusive. Good. What does it show her? Non-judgmental. Good, right? Open-minded. And why might a seminary be interested in having a student who is displaying those qualities?
Because they can add to like either side. They can understand either way, any type of like path.
Okay, good. And but why is that good for the seminary? Or why is that good for their mission and what they want to do with you?
Kind of shape you, like,
Yeah.
saying I'm moldable.
Okay, good. So good. So there is, look, and this is going to sound sinister. I don't mean it in a sinister way. Obviously, every seminary thinks that what they're doing is good and that they have something unique to offer. And they do want students who will be able to gain from what they have to offer, you know? And I think you struck the spot because you didn't make yourself come across like a sheep, you know, but someone who's independently thinking and evaluating, but is open to ideas and open to new paths and stuff like that. And that's something that I think every seminary would really want, unless they want sheep. Okay, in which case you're probably not going to be applying to them. Yeah.
Also, I feel like seminaries, they also want to hear about the other ones they're applying to see like, oh, like what kind of person you are. And then like they basically just say, oh, you'll be good in any of them. Like they don't like yeah, they have an agenda probably, but they also don't because they're like just like, yeah, you can go here, but like maybe those are all good.
Yeah. Okay, so that was our break. I'm kind of in a quandary here because the plan was going to be to do this for English and then do a.k.a. Alvas for Jewish ethics. I'm fine if we're on a roll and we want to continue doing this, or do you want to do Jewish ethics and then pick this up at some other time, or not pick this up at all?
What are we doing?
We're going to start a mission in a.k.a. Alvas, and the awkward thing, I think, you did the one about if you learned a lot of Torah, take credit, or you did the one about the skull? Okay, fine. So the awkward thing is that the mission we're going to be doing is the one Ayala Fader suggested, and she's not here anyway. So I'm open to doing. What do you want to do for?
Me too.
Yeah.
Should I do it now or?
You definitely do it. Yeah. A lot of people forgot. Yeah. Okay, I hear. Anyone? You want to do this? Okay, Alicia, do you have an opinion?
I want to do this.
Okay, good.
Unless you want to.
No, it's fine. That's okay. Rachel, Emily, Ayala, we're good for. Okay, so let's take a break then, and then we'll come back to this. Recording. And Adina, what do you want to be when you grow up?
So.
And by the way, it's totally okay to say, can I think for a little while? And then just wait a half an hour and yeah. Or let's say you need some time to think, okay, and you say, can I think about that for a second? And then let's say like nothing's coming to you. What would be a good option to do? Well, what's the closest thing you do to passing?
I don't know.
I'm not sure yet. I'll see where life
Be like,
takes
I'm
me.
not sure.
Okay, you can say I'm not sure, right? But let's say it's a question where you can't
Can you drop something?
and just never surface.
No, that's
Yeah.
smart though. Like people, and you didn't know how to answer your cough.
Yeah.
Like cough or sneeze, like do something. Just give yourself a second. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a little. Yeah. You can say.
Like you can be like, oh, my family always jokes. I don't have any.
I don't think that's a good option. So okay, I wasn't even thinking about this specific question. Like you can. It is okay to say that I don't know yet. But then here's the thing also is like if there ever is a question that you don't know the answer to, remember that you don't want to waste the opportunity that they just gave you. You can give them other information that still might be of interest to them. So let's say you don't know what you want to be, say what you're interested in, right? So what are some things you're interested in? What's your favorite subject in school? Okay, why?
Story. It's a very cohesive story. Everything lines up and everything makes sense and the way it is, that's the way life is. Everything has to line up.
Okay, All right, good,
Okay.
good. That's an informative answer. And you see, she was specific in saying exactly what she likes about it and not just giving a generic answer. Going back to my original thing of if you want to take more time and you say, can I think about it for a little while? And it's been a little while, you can always say, can we come back to that? And guess what usually happens? Usually they don't come back to it, okay, right? So that's, now you can't use that for every question, right? That's like your get out of jail free card. Yeah, yeah, okay, good. All right, back to you, Ayala. Oh, here's a good one. This is, they're all gonna ask you this.
Why do you want to come here?
Wait,
Why do you
No.
want to spend your year in
What was that?
You have like a sheet of them?
I have all of the interviewers on Zoom right now. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, I have a list that I've compiled over the years of things from different seminaries. Yeah. So the question is, what do you want to gain from your year in Israel? And by the way, when I ask a question, Amy, you can all think of answers, and then I can ask you if you wanted to answer this also. I should have done that for the other ones, but.
I think there's so much I can't like think.
So this is definitely one that there are certain questions that like
the make it or break it. I feel like.
no, it's not that's going to be make it or break it, but it is one that is perhaps the most important question, even more important than why you want to come to this seminary. You know. Yeah.
Can I connect it to like what's I'm talking about the rabbi of the seminary I want to go to?
Sure.
Okay. So the reason I'm going to your seminary and why I want to go is because all the girls there, they're all there because they want to be there. Not because their friends are there, not because their moms forcing them to go. They're all there because they want to learn with their like rebellion, their I don't know, whatever, their teachers, with their friends, and they like that's their passion and they want to like be in Israel to tour, to learn, and to just make friendships and have relationships with whatever the rabbis, like other girls, and whatever also Hashem, and also the land and Israel. And that's what I want to do. And I want girls who are serious about that. And that's what I want.
Okay, good. That's a good answer. Yeah, I like that. And then again, it shows us that she's dedicated, and it shows us also shows us what kinds of friends she values, right? In terms of like what kind of peers she wants to surround herself with. And good. I like that. Anyone else want to answer the question? Since that's like the big question.
Yeah, can I tell you what I said?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Yeah.
Sounds normal. So I said like I guess it's kind of generic, but like to grow my like, skills, I guess, and to be able to like learn on my own like in the future.
Yeah.
And I kind of reference that we do that here, but like even more so with like people who want to do that. And also like because they have specific classes on like specific subjects in Torah, so, like you can like choose which one like you want to learn to like. And I passed like the stories. I couldn't know how to say it. Like if you like want to learn like Shmuel Aleph.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, you want the fancy term for it?
Yeah.
So I mean, people do call them the stories in Tanakh.
Yeah.
I personally like sometimes, depending on how people use that, I feel uncomfortable with it because it makes it sound like story time, you know. So I call it the narrative portions of Tanakh, like the ones that are talking about events that happened, you know. But yeah, okay, good. That's good. Speaking of the generic thing, just because we're talking about rhetorical analysis here, in the says, does, because trifecta, okay, it definitely, one way to get it, if you find yourself giving a generic answer, then two ways to make yourself stand out is either be more specific or answer the because question. Well, not instead of, but in addition to, right? if you just say the because, like, but yeah. So let's take here, right? Is that building your skills, right? So that's a good answer, but it also, I'm sure, is an answer that a lot of people might give.
Yeah.
So what could you say as a because? Good.
Well, I should have said because the colleges that I want to go to might not necessarily after what college I want to go to. And so like if they're not like stern, let's say.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wasn't confused there. Yeah, right. Okay, no, but I like the direction you were going though, is that I want to be able to learn in the future, and like having the tools to learn on my own independently will allow me to continue learning in life and not be dependent on, on just going to like shiurim and stuff like that, or let's say like the thing you were going to say about learning the narrative portions of Tanakh. So can you elaborate on why? Like, why is that something that interests you? Why do you think it's important?
Because Torah, yeah, it's about like learning your way of life, but it's also about learning like the different things people have done and then learning from their honestly, to learn from what they did. So, like I feel like learning the different narratives in Tanakh will help you learn about the Judaism in the past and then also how to implement it.
Okay, good. All right, I like that. That's a good answer. And here's the other secret, by the way. The very fact that you do give reasons itself makes you stand out. Like even if they're not the best or the most articulated reasons, like that's a lot, that's already going beyond what most people do. Okay, Rachel, here's a cheesy one, but I feel like they ask this a lot. What's your favorite mitzvah?
Ask that.
I've heard people ask that. Yeah.
So cute.
And what was that? Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. So, and it's a legitimate question. What does it mean? It could be, what is your favorite mitzvah to do, or what mitzvah do you like the best in terms of like the ideas or the values? No. You want a different question, or you want to pass? Different. All right. Here's another one that's cheesy, but they always ask it. Who
you struggle with the most?
That is another one. We can answer that later. But I feel like that's too similar. Who do you look up to? Who's one person who you look up to, either in Tanakh or in real life? Okay. Leah, do you want to answer either of those two questions? Favorite mitzvah.
Okay, I'm gonna do favorite mitzvah.
Okay, yeah.
So it might sound like cheesy, but my favorite mitzvah is learning Torah because I really like to delve deep into dissecting every line of like a Rashi or a Ramban and really getting into the idea because I think that those ideas are very valuable for my life and I can implement them to help me grow as a person.
Okay, good. Great answer. Okay, great answer. I don't really have any suggestions. She explained what it was and why it is. And I think there was a good rhetorical move by saying, this might sound cheesy. Okay.
You're acknowledging what you're going to say.
Exactly. And you're making it clear that you're not saying it in a cheesy way. And then that's confirmed by the fact that you explained it in a non-cheesy way, So like it shows self-awareness as well. There are two routes you can take with this favorite mitzvah question, by the way. There are three routes. Okay. One is you could actually just say what your favorite mitzvah is, like Leah did. Okay. And explain why. The other one is it doesn't have to, remember, when I say you should be honest, it's not like they have a lie detector, like a polygraph. And like, if you say mitzvah that's not actually your favorite mitzvah, then it's going to start like, going crazy. Like, it doesn't have to be your favorite mitzvah. It's not like they're asking you to pick your favorite child and like, you can say a mitzvah that you like, and it doesn't have to be your favorite mitzvah. They're not gonna like, no. And then here's the other route, and this is the risky route, and only do this if you're prepared. You can take the route of saying something that no one else is going to say. Like I had a friend who was in a similar situation, wasn't an interview, and they asked this question, and he said, executing a Navi Sheker. And they said, what? And then he went into the whole thing about how like in all these other religions, you just have like blind acceptance of Navim. And in Torah, we have Torah Sinai, and we have a test for a Navi. And like, I think it really makes Judaism stand out that like, that we have a system for determining who's Navi now. And so what he was doing is, I don't think that's literally his favorite mitzvah, especially it's not one that he can do, but like, I guarantee you that the person who heard the answer is going to remember that and it's going to stand out, and like, it's, so that's another way to like showcase your uniqueness or like your knowledge. And again, you can take either of those routes. Either of them are good. Yeah. Okay. Let me ask.
For Leia's route, you could have used, like, in theory, if you wanted to take that route,
yeah,
you could have used a specific like example of like type of learning.
Yes, that's also true. And or a specific example of the type of benefit that you mentioned of saying like taking the ideas and like incorporating them into your life. It's always good to, again, the more specific you can be, the better. Oh, and this is another thing, by the way, another question that, okay, I'll ask this to Elisheva, okay. What's one thing that you've learned recently that you really enjoyed? Like an idea or like or Devar Torah or a halacha?
There's too many.
So what do you do if you're in Elisheva's position and there's too many? What should you do mentally?
Maybe try to group them.
Okay, yeah, right. Think about
favorite class or something in that subject.
Yeah, or yeah, grouping
I
them.
was going to do a Torah idea. You know what? Let me start with a general idea,
Oops, sorry.
and then I'll try to connect it.
Sure,
to
sure.
Okay, so one idea that I've been thinking about a lot recently that I kind of learned was that you have to really take time to just disconnect from like what's going on and just like be with yourself. And I feel like that is an idea a lot in Torah. Like when people have nevuah, they have to
Ooh.
meditate, take time to just be with themselves, and then they're able to connect to God. So I feel like in this world, it's so easy to just distract yourself, not think, not figure out who you are and what you actually value. And I think I realized that you have to force yourself to just disconnect from everyone and everything and just be with yourself. And that's the only way you're going to learn. That's the only way you're going to grow closer to God.
Excellent job. That was really nice, right? Okay, so you answered the question, but then what qualities do we see about Elisheva from that answer? She's trying to grow and improve herself. Good. What else? Reflective.
Yeah. She thinks about how to incorporate Torah ideas into her life.
I was trying to find a word for that, and the best word is not a good word, which is she has an interdisciplinary approach to Torah, but that's not, but like meaning that she is thinking about stuff she learned elsewhere and connecting to Torah and like creative in the approach, so very, very good. All right, let's see here. Looking through the list. What is a strength that you have that you're proud of? Or a good quality you have? Pass. Okay. Ayala, same question? What was the first thing that came to your mind? Which is a good technique, by the way, is that remember, this is not like standing before God on Judgment Day. And so the first thing that comes to your mind, you can say, and then talk about it. And you could change your mind mid conversation.
Ask for a different.
Sure. All right.
Okay.
Okay.
We're all you guys don't want to like praise yourself.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Yeah, let it know. We'll think of something. I don't know.
Same, I would think.
Okay. What extracurricular activities were you involved in? And I'm saying were you involved in because I think it's going to be understood that most of the people who they're interviewing this year are not involved in the same.
But she asked about things outside of school.
Oh yeah.
You've done things outside of school.
Probably meant your
Circle.
free time.
Because like specifically in school.
No, it could be in school or out. What extracurricular activities are you involved in or were you involved in? And you can keep the door open, Leah.
Okay, so in ninth grade, I didn't really want to join in the extracurriculars because I didn't want to stress myself out. Then I got jealous of all my friends. They were all on teams and I wasn't. So then I joined Torval in 10th. I'm always not there next year. 10th grade or 11th grade? 10th grade.
Stick with one.
Wait.
They don't really know.
I joined Torval in, true. I'm not like, I'm talking about an interview.
Yeah,
I joined Torval and I loved it. It was so like, stimulating and it was like you were able to think quick on your feet and it really like I remember so much and it was crazy because there were random facts about like the Mishkan, how would I know? And then I also was in like a math team, which was really nice. It was really fun. Like the questions were really difficult and when I got like 1 out of 10 right, it would make me feel really good for the day. Outside school on Sundays sometimes I was a counselor but not in COVID. And I love my campers. They were so nice and so cute. And we had like gymnastics and swimming. My family, do I talk about like my family stuff? Like
if it's enough within the question, like if it in, I'm not sure like what type of thing are you mean?
Like my family has like a gemach in our house. So we like
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah, that qualifies.
Distribute to other people. So that's a very like hands-on thing. We do this every single day. There's always clothing all around my house.
Yeah.
So that's big extracurricular that we do every single day.
Okay, good. This is a good answer. And
don't forget that you were on Torval and in middle school, and then you like were happy you got back to high school. So then you
in 6th grade, I started horrible, but then I was like, this is too much for me. 7th grade. This is too
Maybe
much
you
for
should
me.
take Emily on your interview. Just keep her under the table, you know?
But I couldn't do it, so like I dropped out before the first meet, and then in 10th
Oh, she
grade,
did? You dropped out.
She has a lot of extracurriculars, yeah. Yeah.
in
Yeah.
10th grade, I was like, okay, let me try it out, and then I was like, wow, it's crazy how I dropped this, and now I love it.
Okay, good. So that again
Yeah,
shows
thank
us
you on my interview.
shows us a lot of variety. Shows us about Torah. The one thing that I think you did very well, and this is something to remember in all the questions, is again, you want to go beyond just the information. So she didn't just give the information, she also said how she feels about it at every step of the way. And talking about your own feelings towards the thing gives them more knowledge of you and sets you apart from others in the sense that like let's say like with the whole Torah Bowl saga that you just described, like that shows your relationship with Torah Bowl, which makes it more than just like a line on your extracurricular form, that you had. Yeah, good. Okay.
It also
I can
shows,
answer
like,
the
she was
phone.
open to growth. Like,
Yes.
at
Yeah, the
first
fact that
in
she
ninth grade,
quit.
She was hesitant, and then
Yeah.
she gave in. In 6th grade, you were on Torah Bowl, then you came back. It
Sixth
shows
grade.
your.
7th. It was
Seventh.
like
It
eighth
shows
grade.
Yeah.
like you're open to
You were in
growth.
Torah Bowl
and
in
you
school.
experience-
You're
out
out
that
that
declined
declined in 10th grade.
Yeah.
Whoa, you're
for like a
so
day.
assuming you're
Literally a day.
It was like I was at T2K, but I never showed up. I wrote it on my.
Oh, you know what's funny, by the way? So under Harova, Harova's the one you just went to, under the questions, after listing a couple, then I have here as a note, more conversation than questions.
Yeah.
There you go, yeah. I'll ask you a Harova one and see if you actually got asked this. What was your favorite subject in high school and why? Yeah? Nice.
So mine secular and non-secular. So regular secular, I said AP Bio and A push, and then I said Jewish ethics, and everything. And also about the fact that when we did Ava Sager, you like were able to say stuff from like personal and also
Right.
the text.
Nice, but so why AP Bio and AP, what was the other thing you
So
said?
I said I always knew I liked science, but at first I took A push because everyone takes A push in high school, and it's like AP history that you always take. But then once I took it, like I realized how much I loved it, and that's why I ended up taking like because I spoke about my Torah classes.
Yeah.
So I said that's why I ended up taking like a poli sci class, and then I said I always knew I liked biology, so like it was awesome.
What did you like about it?
Oh, I didn't answer that. I like that it's very complex because like everything that you like learn happens in a second. Like it takes you maybe like a month to learn it, but it happens like in a second.
That's really cool. See, that's good specificity there, right? I've never heard anyone say that about bio before, and like that's really good. Yeah.
I could totally talk about cellular respiration, but
Yeah.
you should have jokes about that. Like I could go on a tangent about cellular respiration.
Yeah. Okay.
Can you send us a list of like what the
Yeah, I can send you this list. Yeah. Any.
Cool.
Yeah, but again, here's the thing. This list is compiled over many years, and like I don't know what's accurate and what's not, and but it still is going to be good practice. No. I just I mean,
it's based on school.
I'll tell you the schools that I have on the list: Michlala, Darchei Bina, Midrashet Moria, Tiferet, Tomer Devora, Meor. I don't know what that is. Mechon Gold, Chachmas Lev,
Those are like
Afike,
yeshivas. Those are-
Ateres, Harova, MMY, Shalvim,
Yeah.
Midrashet Tehila, Sharfmans, Benos Sara, BJJ, Benos Chava, Tiferes, Migdal Oz, Paninim.
Oh,
You have a lot.
BJJ, none of us
Yeah.
are going there.
Yeah.
So many.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah. Okay.
How do you have like the yeshivas ones? Who in Shahaba went to?
This is not compiling it exclusively from Shalhavet. I went
yeah.
online and compiled it from different places. Yeah.
Okay.
Rachel, what do you like to read?
God, that's not my question. I got like you read.
I'm like my AP Bio text.
No. Okay. Leah, let me add. What was one I was going to ask you before that we didn't get a chance to? Oh no. The name one person either in real life or a historical figure who you admire and why. Yeah.
Just someone who I admire is one of my teachers at Lomdeha. She actually went to Lindenbaum. She works for like the I forgot what it's called, but like the halachic, the women's halachic. Whatever, we're not gonna be there, so I'm gonna say that. And she like helps other women paskin for halachic. And I really like that. I really admire in her that she's a woman who's really getting out there and like learning halacha and trying to help other women and make a difference in the community. And that kind of inspires me to want to do the same in my future. And yeah, so I really admire it.
Okay, nice. That's good. This reminds me of another point, which again, you don't need to be, I don't think it's going to be relevant that much, but also be aware of the type of hashkafa in the school, and then whether anything that you say might be to your advantage or disadvantage. For example, like I did not know this until I was told, but we send out the Lomdeha flyer, for the Friday seminar thing, like every week, So we had a big debate about whether to put Mrs. Fader's Yoetzet Halacha title on the thing, and I think her concern was that some people might be turned off by it because it seems too like progressive and like, whatever.
Yeah.
So like, let's say, for example, that you were interviewing at a seminary that was like much more right wing in the sense that they would, then you take that into account, or if or the reverse, then like that could be to your advantage. Yeah. Okay.
She kind of made me really want to become one.
It is really cool. I mean, it's yeah.
And also, like, I feel like women don't get to play that role ever.
No, and not only that, but by the time, not that this is like a long time from now, but like by the time you are in that position, I mean, it's like we're talking like in the next decade, these things are, the roles are changing and these things are advancing, and like you might have the ability to be like on the cutting edge of what's a program that that Devorah Chait and Tamar Beer, the GPATs.
That's what I was also thinking.
That thing, yeah, like that didn't exist, like however many years ago. It's like this advanced Gemara learning thing for women, but yeah, like you could be on the cutting edge, Okay.
It sounds like technology.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see here. Alicia, do you have a particular school that you're interested in?
I'm not going to.
Or you're not? Okay.
But it's fine. I'll take.
I can. So, do you know what college you're?
Probably community, but no
Yeah.
interview.
No interview. Okay, fine.
No, oh my
Let me
God.
find one.
Like, how do they even know who you are? Like, all they know, they just accept us. They're okay.
But I don't think they really
And
care
I
if they know who you are,
They don't care.
Yeah, do they do
I
background
collect
checks
side
in-
women,
I'm sure they
you know?
do.
Oh, they're gonna see
I'm
my
sure.
cringy Facebook posts.
Your pencil video?
Oh my God.
The hot pencil
Hey,
video. It's fine. They're not gonna be like, oh, she.
I don't know the password to it, so I was never able to do it.
Okay, here's one. Okay, and this is a hard one. Okay, this is not on the list. Okay, but I feel like I want to ask it anyway. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
So in 10 years.
15 kids.
Okay, I don't know about that. Okay, in 10 years, I definitely see myself starting my career because I'm definitely gonna plan on going into psychology or law, which I guess are two different fields, but I really I'm drawn to both because I'm very into like justice and like this idea of like things like being right and like following through and like helping people. And that's also why I like psychology, because I like that idea that I'm able to understand people and help them work through issues. So whether I'm a lawyer or a psychologist, it's going to be based on the same reason, kind of. And so I'm going to be in grad school or law school. So it's going to be a long road of school ahead. And I don't know if I see myself starting a new career either in a law firm or like a low-level job in psychology and just like getting started and being hopeful for my future.
That was a great answer. You're really good at this interview stuff. Yeah. No, it was.
Self-aware.
Yes, the self-awareness definitely comes through, and like the I liked the way how you gave the possible different answers and then integrated them and used it to showcase what your values are and your qualities are. Those
Also,
very
like,
good.
she turned being a lawyer into a positive thing.
Yeah.
Lawyer as helping people. Like, nobody does that. I mean,
And that's
that's
my
my
lawyer.
lawyer.
I mean, that was
It's true. It's 'cause that lawyer in APAC, like she was so, I don't know, she inspired me. Remember that lawyer on APAC? Like she was talking about how she was working for like she worked for like criminal defense, like all these slimy gross
She was
people.
sitting down.
And then she just like left her job. Like she felt disgusting inside, so she just left and then went to
We
work for
became a
APAC.
lawyer to sue them.
She just like left and worked for a nonprofit, and she said she like loves her
yeah,
job
because
now.
she was like battling up criminals and like getting them out of jail, you know, like.
So, like that gave me hope because honestly, I always like had like a drive to like fight in court. Like, I love the idea of it, but I hate the idea of like defending
Yeah.
gross people. But I love the idea of helping people through like having this knowledge.
Yeah.
Like, so.
Okay, so here's one also that someone mentioned. This is the counterpart to the favorite mitzvah question: is what's a mitzvah that you find that you struggle with or find difficult, and why? Now, this is one, by the way, where okay, this is one where
The one that I have in mind, I don't even know if it's a mitzvah or not. It's just something that I personally find difficult.
okay, yeah, go ahead.
Go for it.
Say that, yeah.
I mean, I'm very young for my age. So I find having to say like Yisker very difficult. It's the one thing that I, do not understand, do not like doing. Something that I try to get through every time.
Okay, good. That's a good answer.
Yeah,
It's
very good.
personal and like it.
I really don't like it.
Yeah,
I'm the only one who's like 17 standing in there.
yeah, yeah.
Very, like,
I can only
open.
imagine.
It's very
Yeah,
like,
that's
It's open, it shows you're in tune with your emotions.
yeah,
Like,
very much so. Yeah,
when I was 13, like it was literally like me and a bunch of old people.
yeah, yeah. Okay, good, good.
Awkward.
That's a very good answer. I was gonna say that, like with the other question, there are two routes you can take here, or really three, but you can take the route of the personal, genuine answer. And if you can't think of one, you can always choose something that like people struggle with in general, as long as you leverage it into qualities that like you can, that communicate stuff about you. And the hard thing about this question, by the way, is that you don't want to make yourself look like a jerk, And the hard thing about which is also the hard thing about the question of like, what's one good quality you have that you're proud of? You also don't want to look like a braggart, And it's striking that line between that line of being honest and genuine, but like humble at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
humble and realistic. So like, anyone else want to answer the question of the mystery you struggle with? Yeah, go ahead.
Answer. I was gonna say the death penalty.
Ooh,
Even
good one.
though that doesn't apply nowadays,
Yeah.
it's definitely something that as a person I struggle with, because I feel like I do have a lot of empathy, and the thought of God telling a human being to kill another person, even if it's like, why can't God just kill them? Like that's something that I always struggled with.
Okay, good. So that's actually what I like about that answer is it's kind of like the my friend's Navi Shekhar question in the sense it's an idea. I think the question of what mitzvah do you struggle with, most people will assume that means personally, like in doing the mitzvah or keeping the mitzvah. That shows in terms of your understanding, your acceptance, that's broadening the question, which is again a great move, especially for these like vanilla questions.
We're just like get in.
I don't want to write that
Keep the
thing.
interview.
I
Yeah.
know, I wish it was just
Yeah,
do
it would
that.
probably be like really good though,
No, it
honestly. Literally. It's definitely
I
worth
read
Hold on just a second here.
I could like
Could you go to like
talk
the tour
and
de
come from
world?
it.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Are they generic or are they like?
They're very generic. Oh, here's a hard one. Okay. And this is one that you're gonna get asked maybe in college interviews also. I guess it depends on the nature of the college interview. Why should we accept you? That's listed on the tour de world one.
You walk out.
You shouldn't.
Actually, I thought this was a college. I'm gonna go.
I think I can contribute to what your school portrays as their what the school portrays as like the student that they want. Someone who's passionate, but not like so passionate that they want to be like above everyone. Someone who wants to be in tune with everyone and understand and relate to other people. I don't know what do I say? How do I?
That's fine. I'll give you a tip though for any college or seminary or job interview is definitely review their program and their philosophy before the interview so that so that you can be specific in terms of like what you were doing, which is like tailoring your answer to what they've stated that they're looking for. That's a very important thing. Yeah. Emily, I'm just
Let's over being specific. Do you want to go to Sullivan?
sure.
I hope it's not.
Let's see. Oh, actually, you know what? This is this is kind of a combo of two questions we asked before, but why do you want to go to Charleville as opposed to anywhere else? Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I want to go to Shelburne because I even bring my sister to it? I guess maybe after seeing, I always wanted a seminary that I could kind of make the learning my own. Whether I don't have to go to one because a very like intense learning, because I know I want like serious learning, but not insanely intense. But at the same time, I also don't want there to be pressure on the intensity of the learning. I feel like in Shelburne, like you really can make your own learning, and it could be like however intense I want. In certain subjects, it could be extra intense, and others it doesn't have to be. And also the overall environment. I could say like when I went last year in Hanukkah time, like we spent time in the base and saw like everyone like there were very a couple of conferences that were really 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 intense, and then other ones that were intense in it, but like not as intense in the subject. And then also the classes, they're a vary of like the teachers and their different teaching styles.
Okay, good. That was a clear line of reasoning of like wanting the flexibility of the intensity. So, well, I'm curious what thing you were going to say about, you said sister and you were going to mention.
Oh, so my sister, like, I guess she kind of has similar learning, but she's not an intense learner. So like everyone says like Shelburne's insanely intense, but like I saw from her that like you can really make it your own, and then also like with your friends, like the I guess like that kind of thing. So like, I saw from her that like it doesn't have to be insanely intense. I think I would be a little more intense than she was, but.
So let me just give a tip, not about you, even though it's going to sound like it's about you, is any little thing that you have that is even somewhat unique, if you find some way to incorporate that, then that makes you stand out a little bit more. So tell me if I don't think I'm wrong, right? You have a twin sister, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? So like even mentioning that like you have a twin sister and then talking about that could make me like, oh, so like, you know, because people, look, I'm not saying that this is true, but like people like forming their own like romantic narratives of like, oh, she wants to differentiate herself from her twin, or, you know, or the same thing with me. And like, let's say like being like a Gare, like, you know, like I have my story, but like when someone hears Gare, they're like, ooh, you know, like enchantment, mystery, intrigue, you know? Yeah. So like, you know, that's that kind of thing. So. Yeah.
It's like ball chuva. Like
Yeah, ball chuva, yeah.
Like,
Oh, did you used to be a bandit? Yeah. Right.
Like to grow up with one.
Yeah. Yep. Can you read each other's thoughts? Yeah. Yeah. All right.
like ever.
Yeah.
Like when you say Gary, people are ever asking, oh, what is a cheeseburger taste like?
Yeah, mostly in high school though. Yeah.
Really don't.
Yeah. Rachel, what is a hobby that you have? Pass. Okay. Leah,
Oh, yeah.
how do you have a particular seminary that you want
I
on?
have a question.
Oh, Linda Mom, I don't mind either.
Okay.
I have a question with the hobby thing. Can you like kind of, so the horrible person said that she like didn't see my application before because like she like launched it or whatever, but so can I say like, and as like one of my hobbies being like kind of in line with one of my extracurriculars, like
Yeah, sure. Yeah. That's kind of a great line. Oh, that's another thing, by the way. I was always under the impression that, or I was under the impression most of them do read your thing beforehand, and so for that reason, like obviously there's going to be some overlap in what answers you give, but you don't want to give like verbatim.
I didn't even know they read it at all.
Yeah.
No, yeah, she was like, I usually don't read it beforehand, and I want you to know that this way you don't think you don't. Like you might not want to repeat something that you wrote.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. I like that policy better actually. Also, because when they get to know you more from your verbal responses, and then when they read your thing, they could kind of see you saying it as opposed to like the other way around is harder. Leah, let's say, wait, did you say Memoir or Lindenbaum, right?
Either.
Yeah, is Lindenbaum not on here? Does Lindenbaum have another
You didn't
name?
say Lindenbaum. It's Midrashat Lindenbaum. So maybe
Yeah, but doesn't it have another name?
Someone with a
Robin
B.
does, but it
Oh, but yeah, but that
wouldn't
wouldn't, yeah, so maybe I just don't have it on here. Okay, fine.
Okay.
Are you
Yeah.
having your MY?
I already did it.
Oh, here's,
I have it
okay.
in my bag if you want to see it.
I'm going to ask you, I asked this already to Ayala, but but this is more different wording of the question. What are your goals for this year in Israel?
So I think that definitely there is a value to kind of spending a year away from my family to kind of figure out what my goals are as a religious Jew. And in that environment, I think that it's going to be the best environment for me to find sort of what my hashkafa is, and also develop my reading and translating skills so that in the future, if I want to, dissect a Ramban with one of my chavrutas, I can do that because I have those skills. I also think that I want to form relationships that will help me with my Torah learning in the future in Eretz Yisrael. This is M1 also, right?
Yeah.
Also, I think that your school specifically tends to get a great group of girls, and I think that those are the type of girls that I would want to surround myself with for the year in Israel.
Okay, good, nice, good answer. No critiques there. Other than, I guess, if you had to elaborate on, like, can you explain what you mean by good girls?
Oh, I
Yeah.
know some girls actually from the school. So one of the girls from my community, Shifra, she's super funny. And then I know Jenny Lipshitz's older sister. I'm not exactly sure what her name is. I think it's Yocheved Lipschitz. But also Jenny is such a sweet girl. So I know the kind of girls that tend to go to MOI, and I think they're great.
Yeah. By the way, that's another thing also is, like, if you know for sure, and you might not be able to tell this because I guess it depends on how big the school is. If you know that they know someone that you know, and you can, like, make that connection,
Yeah.
like, then that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what about like seminaries that like Tom always says like the guy like, oh, like you're as if like the first person in your family. Like, then do I not mention that or doesn't it matter?
What do you mean no?
Like you're always the first child. Like we don't like look at you based on your sibling.
Oh, no. I mean, if it's relevant, like, I think it's, you can
They're
mention.
not gonna judge you based on it, but also you know your sister's a good kid. Like subconsciously, they're
Yeah.
gonna associate you, so you might as well
That's
bring it up
true.
in your own way.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
We're both amazing at that.
Yeah.
And you don't have to.
Yeah, and I think that's good advice.
Let's say they bring up like wrong facts.
Then you can correct them.
Oh, I'm not sure.
No,
Maybe I'm
On like
my
the Israel
application.
thing, the woman was like to me, "Oh, we have like a whole Sparty club for you. You can make things,
You're like-
whatever." And my mom and I
You're
were
like,
just sitting there,
oh,
like,
actually.
actually, I'm like
I could
150%
have told you. I
us.
don't know if you can tell, but I'm very
I also used to think you were Sephardic.
No.
Yeah, I
I
not.
know.
Yeah.
That's my last name.
Well, Turbel, yeah,
It's like
it's
Italian,
yeah, it
but-
definitely is not an Ashkenazi sounding
No,
last name.
definitely
Yeah.
not.
I used to, whenever I said your last name, I used to think of like
I don't know about
Because Portobello, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Last question for the day. Elisheva, what's one personal quality that you want to work on?
Okay, this is a double-edged sword. 'Cause I
Yeah.
would say that I want to work on my confidence, but I also think I want to work on my humility because I think in a lot of areas, sometimes I have too much confidence when it's at the wrong time, and I don't have confidence when I need it.
Ah,
So I think that's something that I want to work on, and I think are we talking about Israel or?
whatever.
I'll say Israel.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not going.
Yeah.
Through going to Israel and having this year to just learn and just grow and not feel judged, I think I'll be able to gain confidence in the areas where I need it. So especially my reading and translating, that's somewhere where I feel like I could work on. And I think if I gain confidence there, it'll just help like catapult me in all my learning. And also definitely like public speaking and stuff like that, because that's something that I struggle with a lot.
Okay, great answer. And I think the double-edged sword thing showed nuance. The fact that you're recognizing that this is that it's not just black and white confidence or not confidence. It's subtle and and you need humility also. All right, good. All right, hopefully this was useful. And if you have, we're not going to do this again, but if you have other questions about interviews, over the next couple weeks, then feel free to ask them.
Actually,
Yeah.
can we do
Do like a resume kind of thing? What's
I'll
a
give you-
better like what's a